You're lying, you have to work here. I saw you lurking around the shelves. The words hit me like a rogue shopping cart full of expired coupons and unadulterated rage. I swear, one minute I'm just trying to grab some preservative-free apple juice and the next, I'm apparently the mastermind behind some Aldi-level conspiracy. Yeah, that kind of day. Hey there, Redditors, it's Jasper, and believe me, my knack for finding deals usually doesn't involve being mistaken for an underpaid, undercover employee. But today, well, today was special. It was just another Tuesday, my brain already half-fried from work, so I decided to hit up my favorite Aldi for a quick lunch break and a dose of retail therapy. My mission, that elusive, delicious, preservative-free apple juice. You know the one, it's always playing hide-and-seek among the regular stuff. I'd practically memorized the store layout tracking it down. I finally spotted my prize gleaming innocently on a lower shelf. Score! I grabbed a couple of bottles, feeling that little surge of shopper's triumph, and started making my way towards the checkout. That's when the universe decided to throw me a curveball. The first woman was harmless enough. She approached, looking a bit lost, and asked, "Excuse me, do you know where I can find the apple juice without preservatives?" I mean, come on, my bounty was practically still in my hand. I just pointed her to the exact spot. She thanked me, a polite smile, and went on her merry way. Phew, I thought. Easy peasy. Maybe I should wear a name tag that says professional shopper and part-time guide. Then, the second woman appeared, and let me tell you, this one radiated, "I'm on a mission and you are my pawn." She had that determined glint in her eye, the kind that usually precedes an epic Karen moment. My internal alarm bells started clanging. "Excuse me," she barked, not even a please in sight. "Where are the candy apples?" I blinked. Candy apples, in the middle of spring, at Aldi? I hesitated, a little voice in my head screaming, "Oh, here we go." I took a breath, tried to channel my inner customer service rep, a purely theoretical role, mind you. "I'm sorry," I said, trying to sound as genuinely helpful as possible, "but I don't actually work here. I'm just a customer like you." Her eyes, already narrow, practically became slits. "You're lying," she accused, her voice rising a decibel. "You must work here. I saw you looking at the shelves like you were organizing them." "Lurking, organizing? I was hunting juice, lady." "No, really," I tried again, a hint of frustration creeping into my tone. "I'm just buying groceries." She wasn't having it. Her face was starting to turn a delightful shade of beet red. "You're just trying to be sneaky, trying to hide the good stuff for yourself, aren't you? Some kind of employee discount scheme, probably. I bet you were stalking the candy apple shelf, waiting for me to leave." Okay, now I was starting to get genuinely annoyed. Stalking the candy apple shelf, that was a new one. I could feel other shoppers in the aisle starting to glance our way. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a full-blown public execution for the crime of existing in an Aldi. "Look," I said, probably a bit sharper than I intended, "even if I did work here, which, again, I don't, candy apples are seasonal. They sold out weeks ago. You're probably out of luck." That seemed to break her brain. She stared at me, a mixture of disbelief and pure, unadulterated fury warring on her face. Her mouth opened and closed a few times like a fish out of water. Finally, she let out a huff that could have deflated a bouncy castle. "This is ridiculous," she sputtered, whirling around and stomping away, muttering something about incompetent staff and ruined day. I just stood there for a second, my precious apple juice clutched in my hand, watching her angry retreat. A small, weary chuckle escaped me. I swear, sometimes I think these stores should hand out badges that say, "I am a civilian. Please do not engage in combat." I finally made it to the checkout, paid for my juice, and headed to my car. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I spotted her SUV screeching out of a space a few rows down. She was still red-faced, gripping the steering wheel like it was personally responsible for the lack of candy apples. And as for me, well, I got my juice, and a story that definitely tickled my funny bone. Maybe next time I'll just wear a disguise. A clown nose, perhaps. Less chance of being mistaken for an employee, right?
Hey, real quick before the next one, if you're enjoying this, subscribing helps a lot. All right, story number 3 coming up.
You ever have one of those days where you just know you're about to snap, like the universe is testing you specifically? Because that's exactly what was happening when a woman, an absolute unit of entitlement, looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're lying. I want to speak to your manager." Mind you, I'm wearing a ridiculously specific uniform from my actual job, nowhere near this store, and just trying to buy some damn slippers. Strap in, folks, because this one's a classic. So for context, I'm Julian, and during college breaks I used to work at this daycare center, let's call it Little Acorns. It was a fun job mostly, but their uniform, oh boy. Think khaki pants and a bright, almost offensively cheerful blue polo shirt. The kind that screams, "I work somewhere with laminated children's artwork and a faint smell of disinfectant." It's not exactly high fashion or ambiguous or anything you'd ever mistake for, say, a retail store employee, or so I thought. Anyway, it was peak holiday shopping season, and I was on a mission for some seriously cozy slippers at one of the big box stores. I was deep in the shoe aisle, contemplating the fluffiness of a particular pair when I felt a thump. I looked up and there she was. A woman whose shopping cart was piled so high it looked like it was about to topple over, threatening to unleash a deluge of Christmas kitsch upon us all. Let's just call her CB for colossal bitch, because that's what my brain immediately christened her. Her eyes, narrowed and impatient, scanned me up and down. "Excuse me," she barked, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Do you know where the Christmas sweaters are?" I blinked, taking a second to process. My blue polo, my khakis, I guess I did look like I was in uniform, but not this store's. Still, I tried to be polite. "I'm sorry, ma'am," I said, giving a small shake of my head, "but I don't actually work here." She stared at me, then at my outfit, then back at me as if I'd just confessed to shoplifting. A dismissive snort escaped her. Ugh, lazy kids these days, always trying to get out of work. My polite facade started to crack. "Lazy kids? Lady, I spend my days wrangling toddlers and cleaning up glitter explosions. I earn my paycheck." "Actually," I said, a little too brightly, a smirk tugging at my lips, "I work at a daycare center, Little Acorns. You can usually find me covered in finger paint." Her eyebrows shot up, a flicker of confusion battling with her inherent indignation. "What's that supposed to mean?" she demanded, her voice rising. "It means," I clarified, letting the sarcasm drip, "that I don't work here, and therefore I can't help you find your festive, probably sequined sweaters." I even gestured to my decidedly unfestive blue polo. For a moment she just stood there, her mouth slightly agape, probably trying to compute the sheer audacity of my statement. Then her face twisted into a mask of pure fury. "You're lying," she screeched, her voice echoing a little too loudly in the shoe aisle. "You are clearly an employee. I want to speak to your manager, right now." Oh, she wanted a manager? This was my cue. A slow, mischievous smile spread across my face. I nodded thoughtfully. "You know what, ma'am, that's a great idea." I paused for dramatic effect. "Tell you what, my manager is a lovely woman, really understanding. You should absolutely go speak to her. You can find her at Little Acorns Daycare. Just walk right in, ask for Ms. Bethany, and tell her Julian sent you. I'm sure she'd love to hear about how helpful I'm being today." CB's jaw dropped. Her face, already red, deepened to a shade of puce. She stammered, then let out a frustrated huff, turning on her heel with such force that her overflowing cart nearly tipped. As she stormed off, muttering about insolent brats and ridiculous uniforms, I just watched her go, a genuine, wide grin plastered on my face. It's the little victories in life, folks. And sometimes, those victories come wrapped in a blue polo and the satisfaction of knowing you just mildly inconvenienced a self-important stranger. Stay vigilant out there, y'all. Don't let the CBs get you down.
The world fractured around me the moment her fingers snapped, sharp and impatient, inches from my face. It wasn't just the noise. It was the proximity, the sudden, aggressive demand that stole the air from my lungs. My vision blurred, the fluorescent lights of the supermarket warping into something menacing, and a choked scream tore its way from my throat. My hands flew to my ears, the memories rushing back in a tidal wave of pure, unadulterated terror. My mascara, carefully applied that morning, was already streaking down my cheeks, a testament to the full-blown panic attack seizing hold of my entire being. This wasn't just a bad day anymore. It was a nightmare. It had started out simply, if exhaustingly. Aubrey, that's me, had just finished a truly grueling day. My boss had been a particularly relentless taskmaster, and I was so ready to shed my stiff suit and heels and just be. But first, a quick stop at the grocery store for some nylons, the last thing I needed before heading home. My feet ached, my head throbbed, and all I craved was quiet. As I navigated the aisles, still looking very much like I'd just stepped out of a corporate meeting, I was approached by a sweet older couple. They were lost, politely asking if I could point them towards the canned tomatoes. I smiled, happy to help, and we even shared a brief, commiserating chat about the eternal hell of grocery shopping. It was a nice, human moment. Then Karen appeared. She didn't approach, she descended. A woman who seemed to generate her own personal vortex of entitlement, she cut off my polite conversation with the couple mid-sentence. "You, over here. Help me find the organic, gluten-free, vegan oat milk." Her voice was a grating, demanding bark, and she didn't even wait for me to acknowledge her. I was tired, so tired. I let out a long, internal sigh, plastering on what I hoped was a neutral expression as I turned to face her. "I'm sorry," I began, my voice already strained, "but I don't actually work here." Karen just stared, her eyes narrowed to slits, before cutting me off again with a dismissive wave of her hand. "Don't be ridiculous. Of course you do. Now go find it. I haven't got all day." My patience, already stretched thin, began to fray. "Ma'am, I truly don't work here. I'm just a shopper like you. I'm still in my work clothes, yes, but I'm not an employee." I tried to be calm, reasonable. Her response was to puff herself up, her face turning an alarming shade of red. "This is the rudest service I have ever encountered. You are an absolutely appalling employee. Get me your manager right now." At this point, a dangerous heat was starting to bubble in my chest. Who was this woman? The exhaustion from my day, combined with her sheer audacity, pushed me right to the edge. My voice, usually soft, hardened. "Look, I'm going to say this one more time. I do not work here. Leave me alone." But Karen didn't back down. Oh no. Instead, she took a step closer, invading my personal space, her face contorted into a sneer. And then she did it. She raised her hand, fingers splayed, and snapped them sharply, loudly, directly in front of my face. And that was it. The sound, the sudden aggressive movement, the close proximity, it all converged, ripping open a wound I thought had long healed. The supermarket faded, replaced by a flash of a dark room, a harsh voice, and a terrifying, inescapable feeling. My breath hitched, a raw, primal scream tore through me, and my body began to shake uncontrollably. I was no longer a tired woman in a grocery store. I was back there, helpless, terrified, completely undone. I collapsed onto the cold linoleum, convulsing, mascara a black river down my face, the fear overwhelming every single cell. Just as the world threatened to swallow me whole, a blur of motion, then two stern-faced security guards appeared. Their voices were muffled, distant, trying to calm me, but it was just more noise in the maelstrom of my panic. Then, a familiar face, the young woman who had been working the register when I first came in, was kneeling beside me. Her name tag read Sarah. She pressed her phone into my trembling hand. "Here," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Call your husband. Tell him you're safe, Aubrey. You're safe." My husband's voice, when he answered, was a lifeline. He talked to me, slow and steady, pulling me back from the brink, reminding me where I was, that he was coming. Sarah, meanwhile, had got me to sit up against a shelf, guiding my breathing, her quiet presence a much-needed anchor. EMTs arrived shortly after, their calm, efficient movements a comfort. They checked my vitals, gave me oxygen, and just generally helped me process the lingering shock. My husband, bless his heart, rushed in not long after, his face etched with concern. He was by my side instantly, holding my hand, his quiet strength exactly what I needed. Then the police arrived. They took statements, confirmed what had happened, and then asked me the question, "Do you want to press charges against Ms. Karen?" I looked at Karen, who was now being held by security, sputtering indignant protests. I looked at my husband, at Sarah, at the police. The terror was still a cold knot in my stomach, but beneath it, a resolve began to harden. This wasn't just for me. This was for every innocent person Karen had ever targeted. Yes, I said, my voice still a little shaky but firm. Yes, I do. And just like that, justice was served. Karen, still yelling about rudeness and discrimination, was led away in handcuffs. The store manager, who had witnessed the tail end of the incident, immediately issued a lifetime ban from the premises. My husband, ever my protector, just shook his head and muttered, loud enough for Karen to hear, "What an idiotic hag!" She shrieked, but her words were lost as she was escorted out. I felt drained, but also strangely triumphant. Standing up for myself, pressing those charges, it was empowering. My husband was immensely proud. Sarah received a commendation from her manager, and the police and prosecutor's office handled everything with such professionalism. So, yeah, what started as an absolutely soul-crushing day at work, followed by a terrifying panic attack thanks to an entitled Karen, actually ended with a glimmer of hope and a profound sense of vindication. And that, my friends, is a story worth telling.
This next one might just be your new favorite.